Hello and good evening, everyone. I hope you're having a beautiful weekend. And make sure you hit that subscribe button for us. Make sure, very sure, that you hit that subscribe button for us. Absolutely. Not only was I really came up through the ranks as a union person, I was a steward. I was a chief steward. I was a unit vice president. And then I was an executive vice president of a union local for two elect. Well, I was not, I filled in for somebody who left. They retired. And then I was voted in the second time around. So I served two terms. I personally believe, without a shadow of a doubt, the unions are absolutely necessary. However, if you are able to achieve what it would take to get a union in your place of business or working, that means something's wrong somewhere. That's the only reason unions ever existed. Something was wrong somewhere. They try to tell you, oh, well, you don't need one now because there are laws in place. Oftentimes, people don't realize that we have child work laws because of unions. See, don't get fooled by the media talking about China and India and these other faraway places and how they mistreat children. Well, America did the same thing, and they still do in certain places. So these laws exist because, again, of union labor work. You cannot even be guaranteed a 40-hour work week unless your union negotiates a 40-hour work week. That's part of a union. You have to negotiate vacation time. You have to negotiate sick time. You have to negotiate pay. You have to negotiate promotions, all because you have unscrupulous people in positions of authority. This is the reason your unions exist. If people were treated correctly, treated properly, above all, treated with integrity and respect, nobody would be willing to even fight for a union. But it's because of, not being treated fairly, not getting at least a reasonably fair piece of the pie. That's what happens in organizations that end up with unions. Something was wrong. And I do believe that if you've ever been a part of one, you have a responsibility to explain the importance of it to your children so that when they go out into the workplace, they'll understand it. Because I understand how people get really frustrated because it seems like the only people that they help are the people that's doing the worst. Well, oftentimes those people, they're easier to get back because nobody has kept good records on them. That's the reason why it's able to really get people back, because the other side, the management side, they don't do good record keeping. And they lie. It is what it is. Oftentimes the employee lies too. They have to understand that as a union rep, you are no different than a jailhouse lawyer. That's what you are. Technically, you are the job lawyer for the employee. But what the employees have to understand is that you is not so much the employee, but the contract that you represent. You have to make sure that the contract is not being violated based on what the employee has allegedly done. And even though I am guilty of it as I have gotten older, it's really incumbent upon you to keep good records while you're employed. I must say, I have gotten somewhat lazy on doing that myself, but if you can, it's good to carry a little book with you and write stuff down all the time. And When you get home, if you can, take pictures of it and store it somewhere. If you're having problems at work, let a friend who's not associated or a family member, preferably, who's not associated with your workplace, let them know what's going on. So if anything ever happens, they can say and testify that, oh no, she told us this in January of the year before that these things were going on. She was off work and ill due to stress because of what was going on. I mean, yes, they have more money than you do, and they can even if you're telling the truth and you're able to prove it. Oftentimes, yeah, the money will be held up if you sue them, but not all the time. And don't let that be a discouraging situation for you or a discouraging fact for you. But unionism is exceedingly important because they can't just fire you. They have to do everything with just cause. And it's not just cause they want to. So they have to be able to prove it. And it's preponderance of the truth, not, beyond a reasonable doubt, but they still have to prove it. And that's why it's really important that if you feel or perceive that you are being picked on, for lack of a better word, because not necessarily being harassed, but just always seems to be something. Start writing that down because it carries a lot of weight. I'm sorry, partner. Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you think it, that's what you write down. Don't worry about, well, I don't know if this is, if it made you question, that's enough reason to write it down. Absolutely. When they, that's absolutely true. That's true. That's an absolute fact because allegedly the voters allowed Michigan to become a right to work state. And that's what right to work means. It means I can let you go whenever I feel like it, and I don't have to justify why I did it. And I tried to explain that to somebody once. Oh, they ain't gonna do that. They don't want you there anyway. Okay? They don't care how good you work. You don't look the right way. And if we can get one of them in your place, you gone, boo. So don't ever think that don't nobody love you like that. If they loved you like that, you would have ever had to have the union in the first place because they would have been treating you correctly. You would have had all the time that's necessary. You would have had health care without a problem. They don't love you. They don't even like you. They just want somebody in there to fulfill the needs of that position. Period. That's it. That's all. That's the only reason you're there. And if you die right there, they'll just put somebody else there and scoot you over till they come pick you up. So you need to recognize what's really important. Your outside life with your family should be the most important thing to you. Period. And while you are there, you need to protect yourself. And how you protect yourself the best is having a union. And listen to this. A raggedy union is better than no union. And understand, I know why a lot of people have problems with, oh, they crooked. No, the union is not crooked. People that are a part of the union are crooked. They're the ones, but listen to this. Are they really? Or are they there with the intent to cause the very thought that you now have in your mind? I don't believe that all of them are legitimate people. I believe some of those people are put in place to do the very thing it does, and that is discourage you from having a union because you hear all the hullabaloo. Oh, they get arrested for this, but do you ever hear about the trial? Do you ever hear anything about the trial? How many of them do you really know that actually went to prison? Because you hear all this hullabaloo in the beginning, and then all of a sudden you don't hear anything else about it. I'm not saying nobody has ever gone. I would not say that. But you just need to pay attention to what's really going on. Don't assume things, dismiss your emotion, deal with fact. Always dismiss your emotion. Maintain your passion, but dismiss your emotion. Deal with the facts of what's really going on. Keep up with it. Because, like I said before, it's hullabaloo, which is always a distraction. And then all of a sudden, these people who allegedly did they stole money via embezzlement, any kind of other crime they may have made. You don't never hear anything else about it. You need to think about that. Simple as that. Some of those people never do a day. They had all this hullabaloo to discourage you, and then they get a deal, but they on 12 years probation, a suspended sentence unless they do something else wrong. So be careful jumping on the bandwagon. And really, that goes for anything in life. Remove your emotion, deal with the facts, and make sure you know what the facts are, not just what the media told you. Malcolm X once said, whoever runs the media runs the world, which means the media tells lies as well. The perfect example is I can use the truth and lie to you. Girl, did you see what he did? Versus, girl, did you see what he did? Two different inferences just in the tone of my voice. All day long. And we don't pay attention. We just think, oh, it's news. And that particular individual, or they wouldn't lie on TV. They'll lie on TV, they'll lie in the movie, and they'll lie to you directly. Well, because they died specifically performing the job, the union is kind of like the second person to that because that's first the company. They have to pay. If you had any kind of insurance, that's usually a double indemnity. And the union, if they're doing their job the way they should, we make sure the family understands that if we have access. People don't always make that information accessible, but we would make sure that you knew that to ensure that nobody just dismissed you and you didn't get what you're supposed to have. Well, that's still the job. She gets a break. She gets a break. She gets a break. She has the legal right to be able to go to the bathroom. I mean, really, that kind of stuff is law. You can't deny her going to the bathroom, but that's still on them. They have to pay. Normally, most people signed up for that kind of stuff just in case. And that's usually a double indemnity. So the family does get paid for that. And hopefully people sign up for everything. See, that's one thing for me as a union rep, I was also the benefit rep to ensure that you knew about all these things. Because I know when I started at the phone company, I wasn't told about 401k. I heard about it later. I think I'd been there maybe 2, 3 years before I even heard of a 401k. So oftentimes people have been there and not aware of things, even though they may read a lot, they haven't seen that. It's not made of, you don't know to look for what you don't know exists, or if you never heard the words. But we're left out on many things, many ways, and some of us don't help the situation. But I believe in if I know, you need to know. If I heard it, you need to hear it. And if I hear it, I want to learn as much as I can so that you can, because I'm still learning. And to me, if you miss learning any day, you're not paying attention and you're not really living, because as long as you live, it's never too late. You may not get the benefit that you would have gotten 25 years ago had you known, but you can get yourself in a better situation and leave your family in a greater situation. Generational wealth is never too late to get started. Absolutely. It wasn't, sometimes it was never meant for you to enjoy it. Sometimes it is your departure that opens the eyes of the people that they finally get it. They're no longer blinded by the truth or from the truth. They get it now that you're gone. And it's not that you're in the way, it's just that they won't get it until you're gone. It is what it is sometimes. I mean, look how long it takes just us to get it sometimes. And sometimes we know things intellectually, and that's as far as we know it. And that's what people don't understand. Just because you know the words that are coming out of my mouth don't mean you comprehend it enough to benefit from it. Absolutely. Thus the necessity for wisdom, knowing how to utilize the knowledge. See, it's one thing to know it, it's another thing to understand what you know. But once you have a certain level of comprehension, therein is the wisdom to apply it. That's when the fruits, you benefit from the fruit of it, when the wisdom to apply it, when that's there. And I believe that to share knowledge is one of the most greatest things you can ever do, is to share knowledge. Now, what you do with it, that's on you. As the old folks would say, you can take a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. That just like with the union piece. There are certain things, depending on what your position is, there are certain parts of the contract that you should read, and you should read it more than once or twice. There are certain rules that you should read, and you should read them over and over again. It is what it is, because you need to know. You need to know more than the people that you work for at all times about what concerns you, because they're gonna play you with it real fast. If they think you don't know, I mean, that one place of employment, when ladies would have different color hair, some of them would get bullied and be told to change the color of their hair. And they get scared and change it. You didn't pay for me to change it this color. There's nothing posted about what color I can have. They want to go back and say, well, it has to be a natural color. When I put it in my head, it's naturally in my head. But that's not what the policy actually says. The one of the last sentence in the policies includes the trends of the times. And the trends are all these different colors in your hair. Not only that, I'm not always at work. And when you in the world and you have all these in the different color hairs, nobody's paying that attention when they come to you on your job. They're not, because it's a common thing now. Perfect example. There's a commercial. I think it's a Walgreens commercial. And this elderly couple, this older couple, they are getting ready to go to a class reunion. And when they're entering into the Walgreens or the drugstore, let me just say that since I'm not absolutely sure it was Walgreens, there's a young girl that comes out and she has purple or lavender hair. And when you see them next at the class reunion, the lady has lavender hair. And she has to be well over 60. So, trend, trend of the times, trend of the days. That's why it's imperative to know what people can and can't say to you and then stand on it. Show me why I need to do this. And you can't get me for insubordination if you're telling me something that I have a right to do. Absolutely. Well, the other thing is too, is what you're telling me makes no sense. And if what you're telling me makes no sense, I'm going to roll with it, whether I read it or not, because the one thing that's consistent, the policy is not going to be something that makes no sense. It may not be absolutely legal, and I'll give you an example, but it's not going to not make total sense. It's going to be something that I can lean on. There was a place where I was employed, and if you had your medication, you had to leave your medication in this one particular area. Well, that's a violation of the HIPAA laws right there. It ain't none of your dang on business what I take or why I take it. Because then you have some medications that are used for AIDS and it may be used for something else. So now you got my medication up there with somebody who is not a management person and they are employee just like me, same level, everything. Well, what they need have access to my medication for? And what if they change it out and I die? Now what? I had a friend, she needed to have an EpiPen all the time, but you wanted to leave her pen way someplace else, but the inmate could have her pen in the union. That's stupid. So, I mean, those are the kind of things you challenge, or you do what is necessary in between the time. But that's just stupid. That's not exactly what the policy said. That's what you want me to do. But that's not what the policy said. Because if I die, then you're gonna try to blame it on me that I didn't have my EpiPen with me. So, wow, hot mess. Truly, truly, truly a hot mess. But you know what? Given the opportunity, I'd take it all day long. But I even had a situation where a person called me to try to tell me to do something. And every time they called me, I emailed back. So based on the conversation we had, and then they would call me. See, that's when I know you're up to no good. You keep calling me, but you won't respond to my emails. And every time they call, I wrote an email and they eventually left me alone. Or when people don't know you and they assume things about you, and the person kept trying to set me off. And it wasn't working well because the louder they got, the lower I got. I just became lower and lower because I don't know what they had heard, but I'm not going to go off just on GP. And I'm not really, most of the time, it's passion. And people confuse passion with you going off. But that's because you're not listening to what's being said. I'm a very passionate individual. I don't need to go off on you for what? But okay. And all she can do is work where she is. I bet that. Yep. And it's sad because what I find is when you are someone that is vocal, people got issues with that. And I don't understand that because I mean, I understand it intellectually, but my heart, my head, I don't function well with that. Because when you have a problem with an individual that is willing to stand up and be heard and has something to say, and you dismiss them, and That means that tells me you have a lack of integrity. Absolutely. And then what I do is I just keep doing it because I know that also keep you away from me. Oh, here she go again. That's right. Because I don't want you around me. Just get away from around me. I know I drive you crazy. That's my intent. Because I want you to stay away from me. Just quit coming around me. If you're not going to, and then it's so disingenuous. You ask for suggestions and ideas, but you never take them. I never give a solution to anything. I never speak on a problem without a solution. Never, ever. And I don't just give out silly, blind solutions. I consider what is the benefit for everybody in this solution. How can we both benefit? What happens in this solution? How do we make this solution work? Just like with the 12-hour shifts. I am not good with forecasting, and I know that, but I know how to but I still know how to explain forecasting. I still know how to uh, define why and how that can work and why it is important. I don't have to be able to do it to give you the information. And I always consider that show. I can't remember the complete name, but it's something about the boss and how the bosses would come out to see how things were going with their people. Undercover boss. And sometimes the bosses have no clue on how to do the job, but that's their dream. And so they made sure they got people who could make sure their dream could come true. I got a dream. I just don't know how to make the dream come to fruition. So I get these people who know how to do this, this, this. I got the idea. Now you make my idea come to fruition. That's all that's about. That's why they don't know how to do the job all the time. Yeah. That sounds like the rich man, poor man. That's what he talks about in the book. Yeah. Versus buying it and ensuring that it's successful because you want to be able to employ these people for a long period of time. And what you do is when you learn it and you utilize what you learn effectively and fairly, you treat your people justly as well. And they tend to be that's how you build loyalty, and you don't have to worry about people leaving you. Your turnover reduces greatly. Something else they don't understand. If you don't talk to your people, it's really, you never want a high turnover rate. Never. It costs you too much, but you're just throwing money out the window because of retraining, training. No, you want people to want to stay. So you have to change how you do things. How you did it in 60 is not how you did it in 70. It shouldn't be. How you did it in the 80s, how you do it in the 90s. Well, times change all the time. And when you have a different generation of people coming in, yeah, you got to consider that. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's why never change just because you can change. Change to improve the effectiveness of how you do things. Don't just change for the sake of changing. And you'll be surprised on how it'll make a difference in the culture of your workplace. And that's what you have to seriously consider is the culture of your workplace. It's very important. I mean, you know, you have people in there that's young enough to be your child. They don't have a clue about some of the intrinsic things of how a position may go. Now, everybody has to be willing to learn from each other. As long as we are doing the same position, as long as everybody stay in their lane, we dealing with the workplace. I believe some of them have wonderful ideas. A lot of them are extremely techie smart, so they know how to cut down on paper, how to do things more effectively just on the computer. Because really and truly, all that paper, that's how places get in trouble. Paper. Paper will get you in court on a regular basis. And all you have to do to me, you need to just print 3 sheets. That's it. You only should have 3 paper copies of everything. That's it. You don't need everybody and their mama to have a copy. Just 3. That's it. That's all. And when you do things, everything should be on the computer. If you're working in a facility where there are inmates, you have one of those little things where they can sign, the little pad that you can sign on. Take that little pad, slide it back in a little spot that's attached to the computer. And that's how you do things. And then you send it and it automatically goes everywhere it's supposed to go. And there needs to be something like a Dropbox. That way, if you work in a unit where you need paperwork from the psychiatrist to post beside an inmate's door because you work in a section where there's some observation that needs to be going on a regular basis, or they're on some type of management plan, well, you ought to get a notification and it ought to be right there in that Dropbox. And when you need it, click and hey, you print it and post it up. Saves paper, but you got a record of it. It's right there. If you need to go back, change anything, they can go back in and change it. You don't have access to change anything. You just got access to print. They change via their codes. It's just so much simpler. And all you need is one. They just need, get their paperwork. But when you send it, it goes everywhere it needs to go to everybody who needs to do whatever needs to be done to it. So say, for instance, the psychiatrist or the counselor, they write up a management plan and a deputy, a captain, a lieutenant, or somebody of that nature needs to sign it. Notification. Get the notification, go in and read it and sign it. Notification. And it comes where it needs to come. And I believe certain areas ought to just have a screen up, notification. And until you hit it to get it, that notification continues to go off. It doesn't have to be a loud noise. It can just be a blinking light, but it won't stop until you respond. I've always said that there should be a traffic light in the housing units in a prison. Red light, nobody should be out and there should be no movement. Yellow light, you got so much time to get where you're going to be. Green light, continued movement until the light changes. And it goes back the other way. It doesn't just turn red, it turns yellow again. Hey, it's getting ready to do something. It was green before, so now it's time to go back. Red, no movement, and you shouldn't be out. And you put that at the end of every hallway. I mean, come on. You out and you see the light red and it's been put everywhere where you can look at it before you even come out your room. Okay. You get a ticket, automatic ticket. I should just be able to press a button for which ticket it needs to be and just put your name in it for certain tickets, not all. But I can think of a lot of things that could be changed and too much paperwork. No. I believe if you change some of the paperwork policies, if you allow people to bring in their lunch, because if I'm going to be there and I can't get a lunch because we don't have enough people for people to come relieve me, well, let me bring my lunch in. Let me eat. And if I'm dumb enough to share with an inmate, that's on me. Now I don't have nothing to eat. You can't bring it back behind the gate? No. Some people might, but other than that, because it's a rule. And just because it's a rule, that's lets you see the level of level of unintelligent people. Because they allow people to bring it back during the COVID because of so many units were on quarantine. So anybody working in those units could bring it in. Eventually, everybody started bringing their stuff in. But that's illogical. If I can bring it in, then what's the difference? All, all the time. All the time. No, but you mentioned that to me before. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. And I've seen that since you mentioned it. So now you want to put them in segregation because they did what prisoners do. They didn't. And matter of fact, some of them probably going to end up with a contract when it's all said and done. But you're going to punish them because y'all side let this allow this to occur. So there was a breakdown on your side. So you're going to punish them because it was a breakdown on your side. See, that's not cool. That's not what you do. Prisoners did what prisoners do. And unless you actually caught them with the phone, you really don't know who had the phone. Because if I'm in front of it, who actually has the phone? Not me. And I know in the past there have been people who have produced their own music while they were in prison. Shoot, they used the box. That's where Sonny Liston came from, straight out of prison. Yep. Well, they don't want it to be because you have to remember the great level of racism for the black and brown men that are there. Black, let's be totally honest. The black men, the brown men, and the very poor white men. They want them staying in there, so that's free labor. Absolutely, it is because I look at the white females that are there. They would be considered just like what you just said is what they would be considered in the world. Very few would be considered something that anybody would want their son with or their daughter even to be a friend with. Very few. I mean, let's count one hand and not use all five fingers. So it's definitely class, definitely. And unfortunately, the racism is double for the blacks and the browns. So it's class and your race. And people, just to digress momentarily from the union issue, people look down, well, you shouldn't have committed the crime. Well, if you have nothing and your resources are limited or don't exist, and crime is promoted directly from the government in your neighborhood, and you see people making money, you in the 10th grade, and you got a wad of cash, you making $1,000 a week. Well, you're going to take your chance because you have no belief that you're going to live that long anyway. Definitely it is. And it's understandable why you go that route. Especially if you're in a home where all kind of bad things are occurring, or if so many people in the house and nobody really has a lot of anything. I mean, they could be lacking in education. They could be like mental resources. They don't have any range of reference because they lack so much. Emotionally, I mean, people get tired of not having after a while. You get hungry, and you'll do what you need to do to be fed. Absolutely. And it's amazing. I was listening to Fantasia. I don't know who she was being interviewed by, but the person said to her, "You have more money than me." Fantasia said, "You don't know that. You have no idea." She said, "There's a lot of people out here that they in the cars and nice cars." She said, "But they don't really have anything. Not a thing." She said, "I lost everything twice." She said, "But I drive my own car. I don't have a chef. I keep my own child. I go to the grocery store myself. And don't everybody don't have any money out here. They look like they have money." She said they've been in this business and they don't really have anything. They're barely making it. Absolutely. Trash collectors make good money. They make darn good money. Well, that backfired. They took that out of the schools, mechanics, plumbing, electrician. They took all of it out of the schools, and now they've kicked themselves in the butt because now those people who did get it before it was taken out of the schools, they're dying off or retiring, and now they're trying to hurry up and get people trained so they'll be able to do it. But see, being trained by the book is not the same as the man that's been doing it for 20 years. You talk to him, it's a different vibe altogether. So give a boost. No, it's already sad. No, I'm good. I'm good. I just want people to really consider uh always wanting a union because there are protections there that you may not consider until it's too late when you don't have one. And just remember this, the first letter in union is you. So if it's raggedy, what you doing about it? Absolutely. Until next time, we definitely love you. We appreciate you listening and make sure you hit that subscribe button and the like button, and we would greatly appreciate it. Okie dokie.